So as many of you know, I recently did a video where I benchmarked these two cards, and I used this board here. Now this board has a FX 8320, I believe, currently installed, and I thought the PCIe slot was a 3.0 slot. It turns out it's not. It's a 2.0, and these are 3.0 cards. Well, at least I thought this was 2 and this was 3. It turns out they're both 3, and this board is 2. So what I did was I went back and I benchmarked it. Did a couple benchmarks on this board here. Now this is just a Lenovo i5. I think this is a 3570 currently installed, and this has in fact a PCIe 3.0 slot. Now I wound up taking the video down because the results using this board were very different in some cases. Some cases they weren't, but in some cases were very different than with the other board. Now this isn't the greatest board in the world. It's not the most advanced. It's not the newest. It's actually pretty old. The reason I stuck with this though is because this i5 is in the same ballpark of performance as the FX I originally used. So I kind of went with it. Now some people wanted to know, or they wanted me to include the results of the 2.0 in the 3.0 video when I remake it. The problem with that is, and I have no problem doing that, the only issue is this processor is actually a bit faster. It's in the same ballpark of performance, but it is faster. So it's not going to be an apples to apples comparison. So in this video, I'm just going to show you a few of the results and of pretty much what I came across. Now, one thing I find interesting that I didn't notice before is that the 1030 is actually only a 4X card, while the 550 is an 8X. Looking at the graph in either scenario, version 2 or 3, the 550 has twice the bandwidth available to it. Now, the thing is, both the 1030 and the 550 are low-end entry-level cards, so can either of these make any use of that extra bandwidth? Well, in heaven, the 1030 doesn't seem to be bothered. In both scenarios, the GPU registers as being maxed out, and the frame rates are essentially the same. However, the 550 in heaven shows a huge improvement, with an average frame rate nearly 40 FPS higher. In Unreal Tournament 3, the 1030 rendered on average nearly 40 FPS higher using PCIe 3. But the 550 rendered nearly 75 FPS higher on average than it did under PCIe 2. Now again, these are both low-end cards, and I'm really actually impressed how well they did with some of the more demanding games like BeamNG. But as you can see here, the 1030 is maxed out, and the PCI interface really made no difference, with the same thing happening with the 550. There were no bottlenecks, well, besides the GPUs themselves, being weak. And again, the same situation with superposition. Now both cards are running at 720p and set at the lowest settings, but again, they're maxed out, so the port's bandwidth really just isn't affecting their performance. So yeah, as you can see from just these few benchmarks, in some situations, the slot speed matters. This would be far more apparent using, higher end cards, and they wouldn't get overloaded and maxed out as easily. Now, a few people even commented that they didn't think it would matter with these cards because they were such low-end cards, and at first, I didn't think it would either. But I had to test it, and yeah, in some situations it did. So the video will be out soon, and it'll just be an updated version of the original with different results and obviously the video clips and commentary and all that kind of stuff on it. But until then, I hope everyone's doing well, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.